Hi guys, I'm back with another video of financial management, and today we'll continue with the fourth unit of financial management. So before I start with the lecture, just a brief introduction about myself. So I'm Sandhya Rao, working as an assistant professor at St. Andrews Institute of Technology and Management, working in the BBA department. So the topics that I'm going to cover today are operating cycle, and there are few ratios about the working capital that we're going to talk about today. Okay, so let's begin with the lecture. All right, so I have already told you in the previous lecture what operating cycle means. It's basically the cycle which starts from the time when we actually purchase the raw material, and it ends when we are able to realize the cash from our sales. Okay, when we finally realize the cash from the sales, we call that the operating cycle has ended now. Okay, so now depending upon the terms of credit being which is being availed by us from our suppliers, or the credit period that we are giving to our debtors, determines the span of the operating cycle. Okay, it can be long also, it can be short also, depending upon the terms and conditions of credit. Now it's very useful because operating cycle only helps us to know how much working capital do we actually need. And since it's a short term capital, and we are covering all our short term, or you can say the daily basis expenses from these working capital, so it's a very important component or very important aspect that needs to be covered in financial management. So before I go on with this operating cycle, there are two very important ratios that I'm going to tell you. So one is inventory turnover ratio. So what do you mean by inventory turnover ratio? Before I tell you inventory turnover ratio, what exactly do you mean by inventory? See, inventory is basically stock. Okay, we call inventory as stock. So now this stock is nothing but whatever uh, goods that we have produced until they are being sold off, we call it inventory. Okay, now it's not only limited to the finished goods. Inventory can be of raw material also, inventory can be of working capital also, and inventory can be of finished goods also. So there are three kinds of inventories that we have: raw material inventory, work in progress inventory, and finished goods inventories. Okay, and once they are sold, the inventory is over, the inventory is finished. So now inventory turnover ratio means that in a year, how many times are you actually replacing that inventory, or how many times you are replenishing the inventory, or how many times the sales are happening in your company. Okay, so this is inventory turnover ratio, and the formula for the same is revenue upon inventory cost. So you can say sales upon inventory cost. Okay, there is one more formula given for it, and that is COGS, that is cost of goods which are being sold, divided by the sales. Now cost of goods sold divided by the average inventory. Okay, now the thing is that why is it important to calculate this inventory turnover ratio, or what exactly do we get to know from this inventory turnover ratio? If the turnover ratio is very high, it basically means that good sales are happening, and we are converting our stock into sales very frequently. And if the inventory turnover ratio is less, it's small, then it means that we are not able to convert our stock into sales. It means there is some there is some flaw in our management of inventory, and maybe we have forecasted too much of inventory, maybe we have forecasted wrong amount of sales that we are going to experience in future, or maybe we have forecasted a wrong amount of demand for our commodity. So whatever be the reason, it just means that we are not managing our assets properly. And it's always good to have a it's always good to have a high turnover ratio, inventory turnover ratio. Okay, because that means that you are converting your your stock into sales very frequently. Now the next ratio is collection ratio. Now this correct collection ratio means that it tells us about how efficiently a company manages its accounts receivables. Okay, whatever account receivables means how you are managing your debtors or your bill receivables, which means how frequently you are able to collect it or how soon you are able to realize cash from those receivables. Okay, that is collection ratio. So the formula for the same is number of days in accounting period multiplied by the average accounts receivable divided by net credit sales. So this tells us that in a year, how frequently once the sales have been made, how or in what time period you are actually able to realize the cash. That tells us about the collection ratio. Now if the collection ratio is small, obviously it's better. It means that you are able to realize cash very soon and very easily, and that's a good thing. But if the collection ratio is too huge, which means that you are taking too long to collect the your proceeds or your sales value, then it means that you're not working efficiently. So moving on to the operating cycle again. So we divide this operating cycle into two parts, one which is about collection and one which is about holding period. So holding period means it starts from the time when we have purchased the raw material and it stays till the time we have made the sales. So until the sales have been made, we call it holding period, because till that time the stock has not been cleared as yet. So that is holding period. And once the sales have been made, until the time we have actually realized the cash for our sales from the debtors, we call it collection period. So there are two periods in the operating cycle: collection period and holding period. So this operating cycle is nothing but the summation of inventory period and accounts receivable period. Now what this inventory period and accounts receivable means actually. So inventory period, it is the amount of time the inventory sits in storage until sold. That's what I have told you just now. An account receivables period means it is the time it takes to collect the cash from the sale of inventory, which means how long or the period in which we are actually going to receive the cash from our sales, from our debtors. Now the formula for inventory period is 365 days divided by COGS, that is cost of goods sold, upon average inventory. And the accounts receivable period is 365 days divided by credit sales upon average accounts receivables. So if we start with an example, so the following information have been given to us. So these in the second column we are given the opening balance, and in the third column we are given the closing balance. So inventory, we had a stock of 23 lakhs as the opening balance, and at the end of the year we had a balance of 35 lakhs. Accounts receivables were of 17 lakh and 50,000, and by the end of year we had 23 lakhs as accounts receivables in our stock. Then accounts payable opening balance was 7 lakh and closing balance was 9 lakhs. So net sales is given as 1 lakh, 1 crore 30 lakhs, and the cost of goods sold is given as 85 lakhs. This is the information that we are given. Okay, it's already given in the question. Now we have to calculate the operating cycle. So let's recall the formula for operating cycle. It's inventory period plus accounts receivable period. So first of all, we'll calculate the inventory period. Now inventory period is 365 days divided by COGS upon average inventory. So COGS is already given in the question. We'll calculate the average inventory. Now average inventory means opening balance plus closing balance divided by 2. So opening balance is given as 23 lakhs and the closing balance is 35 lakhs. So 23 plus 35 lakhs divided by 2 gives us 29 lakhs as the average inventory. So we'll just simply put these figures in the formula and we'll get the inventory period. So COGS is 85 lakhs. 85 lakhs divided by 29 lakhs gives us 2.931, and we'll divide this, we'll divide 365 by this 2.931. So the answer comes out 124.53, which means we'll recover this amount in an average of 125 days. Okay, so in 125 days, or you can say that the inventory is going to be in our company or in our storage for a period of 125 days. Now, the next thing is accounts receivable period. So the formula for accounts receivable periods is 365 days divided by credit sales upon average accounts receivables. So see, yahan pe in this question, we'll take the credit sales as the net sales only, because nothing is mentioned about the cash sales, or you know how much was the cash sale or how much was the credit sale. That bifurcation is not given. So we'll take this entire amount as the credit sales. So we'll calculate the average accounts receivables now. So accounts receivable opening balance is 17.5 lakhs and closing balance is 23 lakhs. So we'll add these two figures and we'll divide it by 2 and we'll get the average accounts receivable. So average accounts receivable is how much? 20.25 lakhs. This is the average accounts receivable, and we'll simply put it in the formula. That is 365 divided by the average credit sales upon average accounts receivables. So 1 crore 30 lakhs divided by 20 lakhs 25,000. So this gives us 56.862, and we'll divide 365 by this 56. Achha, this is the exact amount, and we'll simply add the inventory period and accounts receivable period, and this will give us the operating cycle. So operating cycle, the entire operating cycle is of 182 days. This means that the entire 182 days will be consumed in the recovery of the cash from sales, because for 125 days our inventory will be blocked, and the collection period is of 56, or you can say 57 days approximately. So on an average we'll take 182 days to recover the entire amount. Now this was operating cycle. Now the next thing is net operating cycle, and we call it cash cycle. The net operating cycle is nothing but cash cycle. So what is this difference between net and net operating cycle, and just simply when we say operating cycle? See, the difference between these two things is that in net operating cycle we'll take accounts payable also into account. Now, why do we have to take it? See, whenever something is given to us in gross figures, we only take the revenues, okay? And we do not take into account the expenses. But whenever we are considering net amount for anything, be it anything, when we talk about NDP also or GDP also, in that case also, when we consider GDP, then we are not considering depreciation, okay? That is already included in it. But when we are talking about NDP, that is net domestic product, we always deduct the depreciation, okay? We deduct the cost out of it. So here again, it's the same thing. So when we are simply talking about operating cycle, it means we are considering it on gross basis. We are not deducting the expenses or our outlays. So here when we are talking about net operating cycle, we'll deduct the accounts payable period also. No other change in the formula. It's the same. That is inventory period plus the accounts receivable period. One more thing is added over here, that is accounts payable period. So we'll deduct the accounts payable period from the operating cycle and we get the net operating cycle. If you could see this diagram, from the time we purchase the inventory till the time the inventory is being sold off, that is known as inventory period. Okay. And from the time that the sales have been happened and till the time we actually realize the cash, that period is known as accounts receivable period. Okay, fine. Now, when we purchase inventory, we also have to we also have purchased inventory from someone else. Okay, and we also have to make payment for the inventory. So from the purchase of inventory till the time the cash has been paid for the inventory, that is known as accounts payable period. And from this entire thing, if we when we exclude this accounts payable period, the remaining one is known as cash cycle, or you can say net operating cycle. And this entire figure is known as operating cycle. You can take few minutes to actually examine this picture. It's very clear, and it's being explained in a very well manner. So from the time you purchase the inventory till the time you sell it off, it's known as inventory period. And from the time you sell it off till the time you realize the cash, that is known as account receivable. And when you purchase the inventory, you also have to make payment for it. So from the time you have made the payment for the inventory, that is known as accounts payable period. I'll explain it to you once again. See, आपने इन्वेंट्री को परचेज किया एंड उसके लिए आपको भी पेमेंट करनी है किसी को. तो आपने जब इन्वेंट्री परचेज करी एंड आपने जिससे भी वो इन्वेंट्री परचेज करी है उसको जब आपने पैसे दिए, ये पीरियड आपका अकाउंट्स पेबल पीरियड होता है. ठीक है. एंड जब आपके पास इन्वेंट्री आ गई है, उसके बाद उसको आपने प्रोसेस किया, उसको फिनिश्ड गुड्स में कन्वर्ट किया एंड उसके बाद आपने उसको सेल ऑफ किया. तो ये जो इन्वेंट्री जब आपके हाथ में आ जाती है, वहां से लेकर जब तक आप उसको सेल नहीं कर देते तब तक वो इन्वेंट्री पीरियड होता है. ठीक है. क्योंकि तब तक वो स्टॉक में है. जब वो बिक जाएगी तो वो स्टॉक खत्म हो जाता है, स्टॉक क्लियर हो जाता है. एंड वंस द स्टॉक हैज बीन क्लियर्ड, आपकी सेल्स हो गई हैं, उसके बाद नेक्स्ट थिंग कम्स इज कि अब आप उस पर कैश रियलाइज करोगे. जब आप कोई चीज बेच रहे हो तो आपको उसके अगेंस्ट कैश मिलेगा. बट क्योंकि बिजनेस में हम क्रेडिट सेल्स भी करते हैं, तो जब तक आपको कैश रियलाइज नहीं हो जाता है तब तक आप उसको अकाउंट रिसीवेबल पीरियड कहते हो. ठीक है. एंड ये जो इन्वेंट्री पीरियड और अकाउंट रिसीवेबल पीरियड होता है, इसको आप कहते हो ऑपरेटिंग साइकिल. लेकिन अगर इस ऑपरेटिंग साइकिल में से आप अपना अकाउंट्स पेबल पीरियड को सब्ट्रैक्ट कर देते हो तो वो सिर्फ कैश साइकिल बचती है, जिसको आप नेट ऑपरेटिंग साइकिल बोलते हो. ओके, आई होप इट्स क्लियर. नाउ moving on to the management of cash. So we all know that cash is a very important component of business, so we need to manage it very meticulously. So it's considered to be a very important asset, and its proper management and support from the company, support from the management, and other things are also required. So cash की requirement इतनी क्यों है, और why is it so significant? Because first thing is that everything that comes into business has been acquired through cash. Okay, जो भी business में आ रहा है उसके लिए आपको उसको हासिल करने के लिए you have to make a cash payment. Okay, so that is why cash is a very important component. Also, not just the resources but other assets that you acquire for the production of your goods and services also requires cash. ठीक है. एंड कैश का मतलब सिर्फ ये नहीं है कि जो आप कैश इन हैंड, जो आपके पास जो हार्ड करेंसी कैश या जो नोट्स होते हैं, सिर्फ वो नहीं होता है. कैश एक्चुअली मीन्स एनीथिंग दैट कैन बी कन्वर्टेड इनटू कैश. ठीक है. लाइक लिक्विड एसेट्स को भी आप कैश एंड कैश इक्विवेलेंस जो हम बोलते हैं, दैट इज कैश इन हैंड, कैश एट बैंक एंड एनी अदर मार्केटेबल सिक्योरिटी विच इज हाईली लिक्विड. So जब भी हम कैश की बात करते हैं, वी आर नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट कैश इन हैंड, बट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट कैश एंड कैश इक्विवेलेंस. ठीक है. एंड कैश इक्विवेलेंस का मतलब लिक्विड एसेट्स है विच कैन बी कन्वर्टेड इनटू कैश वेरी क्विकली. तो आपकी मार्केटेबल सिक्योरिटीज हुई या कैश एट बैंक हुआ, ये सब क्या है? आपके कैश इक्विवेलेंस होते हैं. ठीक है. नाउ again the same thing that we can classify it into two terms, narrow and broad money. Now narrow money means something which is in our hand, okay, which is very accessible to us, and which or you can say that which can be understood in layman language. Layman language में आप कैश को यही समझते हो जो आपके हाथ में है, जो आपके पास करेंसी नोट्स हैं. ठीक है. But if we talk about the broader sense or the broader view, then cash is not just limited to the cash that you have in your hand. Okay, सिर्फ करेंसी नोट्स को कैश नहीं बोलते हैं. It also means cash at bank and other marketable securities or any other short-term security which is highly liquid, which can be instantly converted into cash. Now, management of cash is a very important thing, and that needs to be done in a very proper manner. Okay, so it is the ability of a management to identify the problems related with cash which may come across in future course of action, and finding appropriate solution to curb such problems is known as cash management. ठीक है, तो cash management है क्या actually में? That first thing is that you need to have proper and sufficient amount of funds with you. Second is that in case in future if you come across any problem, you should be in a position to solve that problem, and you should be ready to face that problem. Okay, so what if for example in future some kind of cash crunch is going to happen, okay, or let's say recession is going to come in future, and we have already predicted that. So for that case, you should be having reserves with you. Okay, you should uh, start investing your money in such investments and in such projects which will generate good revenues in future, in upcoming times. Okay, so that is management of cash. So what exactly are the objectives of cash management? First thing is that you should have sufficient funds to meet the daily expenses. There are two kinds of objectives: short term and long term. So you should have sufficient cash to meet the daily expenses. Next thing is you should not be having idle cash lying with you, okay, because idle cash is going to give you no return. If you are keeping money at your home, it's idle money, because that money is not generating any revenue for you. So you should always invest the excess money, and you should only keep a limited amount of money so as to cover any contingency, or any sudden requirement of cash. So for that purpose you should always maintain some amount, but you should not keep it in uh, high volume. Okay, the volume should be limited. Now, what exactly are the functions of cash management? So we do cash planning. We also manage the cash flows. We control the cash flows. We optimize the cash level, and also we invest the idle cash. So these are the various functions of cash management. So we'll study them one by one, starting with the cash planning. So cash planning means कि आपने you have to plan for the control of cash and preparing a budget. Okay, that's the first thing that you do. You plan out, or you chart out all your expenses and your sources of revenues. Okay, जहाँ से आपके inflows आने वाले हैं, sources of inflows, and where exactly are you going to deploy those funds, or the sources of outflows. ठीक है, कहाँ कहाँ खर्चा करने वाले हो वो सब लिखोगे, बजट एलोकेट करोगे। ठीक है, अगर मुझे अपने मूवीज देखने जाना है, हर हर मंथ में मुझे एक बार मूवी देखने जाना है, या हर महीने मुझे शॉपिंग करने जाना है, तो आई विल एलोकेट माय बजट अकॉर्डिंगली। ओके, जो भी मुझे बजट सेट करना है, तो द फर्स्ट थिंग इज कि मैं यही चीज करूंगी। Okay, let's take an example. After the end of month, when we get the salary, the first thing that we do is we pay out our expenses. ठीक है, जो भी हमारे bills हैं, जो भी कुछ electricity bill, mobile bill, जो भी है, internet bill, जो भी है, we pay them. After paying out all these expenses, the next thing that we do is we prepare a chart, or let's say एक बजट प्रिपेयर कर रहे हैं कि इसके अलावा, ये तो हमारे सारे फिक्स्ड एक्सपेंसेस हो गए, इनके अलावा वेयर एल्स कैन आई एक्चुअली स्पेंड दिस मनी। ठीक है, मुझे सेविंग्स करनी है, या मुझे मूवीज देखने में खर्चा करना है, जो भी करना है, अकॉर्डिंगली मैं उनमें बजट जो है वो एलोकेट कर लूंगी। सो दिस इज कैश प्लानिंग, और द फर्स्ट थिंग दैट वी डू विद अवर फंड्स। नेक्स्ट थिंग इज मैनेजिंग दी कैश फ्लोज। अगर आपने एक बार देख लिया, फॉर एग्जाम्पल आफ्टर पेइंग आउट ऑल द बिल्स एंड एवरीथिंग, इफ आई एम लेफ्ट विद लेट्स से 30,000, and if I allocate the budget like this, let's say movies ke liye I have kept 5,000, and let's say for shopping I have kept 15,000, and this becomes 20,000. Okay, and savings, let's say I have kept only 10,000. After this I'm left with only 5,000. Let's say मैंने और excursions वगैरह and घूमने फिरने के लिए I have set aside 10,000. Now the thing is, मेरा बजट एक्सीड कर गया है, ठीक है, आई हैव एक्सीडेड माय बजट बाय 5,000. So the next thing that I'm going to do is managing the cash flows. Now I will manage my inflows and outflows. So I will try to reduce my outflows and I will try and find out ways by which I can increase my inflows. ठीक है, खर्चे कम करने हैं, इनफ्लोज को बढ़ाने हैं, इनकम को बढ़ाना है. ठीक है, अब ऐसा तो नहीं है कि आई विल स्टार्ट स्विचिंग माय जॉब जस्ट बिकॉज मेरे खर्चे बढ़ रहे हैं तो आई विल स्टार्ट स्विचिंग माय जॉब एवरी नेक्स्ट मंथ. ऐसे नहीं हो सकता, ऐसे तो इनकम नहीं बढ़ रही है. बट अगर अवेलेबल ऑप्शंस हैं देन डेफिनेटली वी विल go for them. Otherwise we'll try to reduce our outflows. ठीक है, अपने खर्चे कम करने हैं. After that, उसके बाद the next thing will be controlling the cash flow. See, आपने ठीक है खर्चे कम कर दिया, आपने बजट एलोकेशन कम कर दिया कि ठीक है भाई मूवीज में हम थोड़ा कम खर्चा करेंगे या फिर शॉपिंग वगैरह का थोड़ा खर्चा आपने कम कर दिया, ठीक है. बट still there are chances that you might exceed your budgets. कुछ ऐसे खर्चे भी हो जाते हैं जो आपको नहीं पता चलते हैं, जो ऑल ऑफ अ सडन आ जाते हैं. अगर कोई एक्सीडेंट हो जाता है और हॉस्पिटल का खर्चा वगैरह अगर हो जाता है, then that is लाइक कुछ एक्स्ट्रा खर्चा हो गया. ठीक है, आपने जो बजट के अकॉर्डिंग जो प्लान किया था उससे हटके ही खर्चा हो गया. तो नाउ व्हाट? So controlling the cash flows is very important, and this is the next thing that you're going to do. So cash planning can still not avoid certain problems. ठीक है, कुछ problems ऐसी हैं जो आप कितना भी plan कर लो उनको आप avoid नहीं कर सकते. So cash control is equally important function. It deals with the maintenance of an optimum cash flow cycle. आपकी जो cash flow cycle है उसको कैसे optimum level पे maintain करके रखना है, कैसे आपको ड्यूरिंग द कोर्स ऑफ दैट साइकिल कैसे अपने खर्चों को और लिमिट में लाना है. अगर आपको लगता है कि आप शायद मे बी नियर फ्यूचर में आपका बजट जो है वो एक्सीड हो सकता है या कोई कंटिजेंट इवेंट आ सकता है, कोई भी और कंटिजेंसी हो सकती है. सो दैट इज कंट्रोलिंग द कैश फ्लोज. The next thing is optimizing the cash level, which means that you have to maintain a liquidity position, meet all the requirements and settle all the obligations well in time. Which means कि आपके जो भी खर्चे हैं उनको postpone मत करो, try to settle them off as soon as possible. Because if you go on piling them up, तो आपके लिए बाद में problem आने वाली है. ठीक है, because if you keep on piling the outflows and postpone करते रहोगे, ठीक है बाद में दे देंगे, उधार पे चलते रहोगे, then that's going to cost you in the next cycle. ठीक है, क्योंकि उस next cycle में income जो है वो तो limited है, खर्चे आपके बढ़ गए क्योंकि आपने pile up कर दिया. तो that becomes a very problematic situation. So you have to optimize the cash level. So whenever you have the sufficient funds with you, you should always pay off your obligations जो भी आपकी हैं. Next thing is investing idle cash. And if you feel that you are doing fine, you're doing well, you have maintained a good amount of inventory with you, cash inventory with you, and also you have paid all your obligations, then there should not be any idle cash lying with you. If you have an excess of cash lying with you, that means that you're not operating efficiently. So whatever idle cash is there, you should invest it. ठीक है, चाहे आप उसको शॉर्ट टर्म इन्वेस्टमेंट्स में इन्वेस्ट करो कुछ भी, बट उसको इन्वेस्ट कर दो, बिकॉज दैट विल generate a return. ठीक है, that will generate some income for you. But if you're going to keep it with you, that idle money is not going to fetch you any return. ठीक है, वो ऐसे ही रहेगा, वो 100 है तो वो 100 ही रहेगा, 100 का 150 नहीं हो पाएगा. But if you are going to invest that money in investment in any project, then maybe वो 100 का 110 हो जाए या 105 हो जाए, जो भी है, you will earn some amount of return on it. ठीक है, so you will invest that idle cash. So this is it. This okay. So we'll end it here now. Thank you, guys.